da 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 da. Okay, hi, I'm Kamurai. I have a problem with time management. uh, just the whole day's just been off. It is way too late. I shouldn't be awake, but I'm gonna do this thing because I said I'm gonna do it on Tuesdays, and it's not longer Tuesdays, but we're gonna do it on the thing because I was sitting here trying to finish out for it. I miss the schedule. I did determine that if I had access to like Jarvis, I would use him to personally nag me every minute of the day. So, let's get started with this. I don't want to go on too long. Let's start with CBS because I thought there was nothing, and then there was something because it was there tonight, and I don't remember it being there yesterday. Two Broke Girls. This is a funny show with honestly very little substance, so there's not anything like deep and metaphorical to talk about it. But apparently, like Max's cat Nancy got out and got laid and had some kittens. That was kind of the whole episode. There's this whole angle about trying to get this big tycoon or business mogul person to snap up the cupcake business and things. I don't know. And make him have custody of the cat. I don't know. I don't know what that was actually the point of this episode. I think it was just funny. Like, wouldn't it be funny if Max's like the only thing she ever loved was this cat? And they didn't have babies. And I think that was basically the writing process for this. Rooster Teeth on the spot. Continuing pretty strong still. I think it's really starting to find its stride. They do it as a live show. It's actually listed on their podcasts, not their videos anymore. Because last time I went to look for it, it only had like episode 10, but youtube.com/roosterteeth had like episode 15, and now they've got up to 16 on the podcast in their own list. So there's that. Also on YouTube, if you like podcasts and listening to people talk about things with interesting opinions and such, Greg Miller and the gang over at Kind of Funny, the Game Over Greggy show, they have a very formatted podcast, which I really actually enjoy that format. And then occasionally it bleeds over to the other side to Kind of Funny Games, which they apparently have a gaming podcast called Gamescast, which sounds clever, but it was just confusing because I didn't find it for fucking 10 weeks. I don't know. I would have been on board first, but Patreon and such. Anyways, I'm really enjoying the return of Community. It's very different to see everyone take a more responsible role. I kind of hate that it's not whitewashed. But stop it. But Laverne, oh shit, I don't know if that's racist or not. Shirley, that's her name. That's why I thought of Laverne. Shirley is out of the show for whatever reason. They brought her on, but Danny Glover's not back, and he was probably my favorite character on there. But now it's definitely Frankie. You would think, like, with me and the way I like psychology and everything, I would like Abed a lot, but it's not that I find him distasteful in any way. I actually find him kind of bland, which is interesting. Like, just given all these characters, that someone so quirky and eccentric actually comes off to me very just kind of like, yeah, I totally relate to him. I'm not saying I can't. But Frankie is what I kind of wanted out of Amy Farrah Fowler over on Big Bang Theory. Like this super logical, semi-neurotic Sheldon of a person. And it would have been, I think, a lot better if it was someone who was academic but not a scientist. And Amy, and to Sheldon's mind, she skirts that line. But to everybody else, the sad reality is that she is indeed a scientist, and yay for the gang. But it would be interesting to have another non-scientist character there, because right now it's just Penny and her drunk lonesome. But back to this show, I actually like. I really like. I can't remember her name offhand. Not Alison Brie, but the other young lady that plays. I really like her character. And I really like how she engages with everybody. We did not get a lot of that because she showed up drunk, shit her pants, and then the whole rest of the episode, it seemed like that was the joke, is that she was drunk and she was wearing someone else's pants. And it's like, in an episode where we're focusing on how a dog could have gotten a degree from Greendale, college, if it even gets to call itself anymore. You would have thought like they would have room for some more things, but we did get some like insight on the older gentleman. I can't remember his name, but the guy who made the VR system. But they made it seem like he's not going to be around anymore, so I don't know. But that is on screen.yahoo.com. I don't know if I mentioned that yet. I learned how to do this, how to find community. So yay for me, because I'm really happy about getting to watch this. The first couple episodes, if I haven't talked about it yet, oh man, now I can't remember which ones they were. Because the first one was all about Frankie coming on board, I think. And the second one was all about this VR system. Like the Frankie coming on board, the show's actually written to the point where I'm like, I can't remember what the point of any of this was. But Frankie came on and kind of walked with us, did an evaluation of the school and the characters and what's happening and who's useful in what capacity. And she turned out to be a freak just like them, so they welcomed her to Greendale just like they welcome each other. I don't know. They brought her in with open arms. I think that's the phrase I was looking for. The second one is the dean orders this super expensive VR machine that he can't do, or he can't afford, and then he ends up they end up getting a refund for it eventually because they can't afford it. And then he ends up giving tuition, essentially free tuition, to the guy who made it, who gave them the refund. And so now he's supposed to be a college student. So hopefully he's not going anywhere, because I do like that guy. I think he's a really good actor. Okay, that's it for Community. Let's just move on. We're going to bounce over to Netflix real quick. And then come back to Hulu. Oh, I didn't. Oh, shame on me. I didn't pull Hulu up properly. We're going from basically the 18th forward, or whatever I watched from the 18th forward. Oh, I apologize. I'm so sad. Oh my God. So the 18th would have been from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 days ago. So 3 pages of Hulu. I do actually have some very particular things to talk about. I don't know why these are like that though for the 7th. Okay. You know what? Let's end on movies. So, but I did watch on Netflix. I did watch a TV show. If you remember, there's a Quentin Tarantino movie called From Dusk Till Dawn, and I'm sure there's like, I don't know if it was a screenplay or a book or whatever that he was basing it on. I would assume it's his work because that's what he directs. But apparently there was more story than we ever got in the movie, and we know that because when the Gecko brothers show up, God, I cannot remember their names. Not Seth. Richie has his hand damaged, and there's already some things happening. Seth and Richie robbed a bank, and they went on this crazy adventure to get towards the border. And so we actually start right after the bank robbery, and while they're on their way fleeing to Mexico, so that we have time to develop all the characters involved. And then they find the family, they get in the RV, and they go across, and there are some major differences to the story, which I actually don't want to spoil. I will say there is a much more particular supernatural element outside of the bar. they expand on what the bar is a lot. Maybe I just don't remember from the movie. They made some kind of important character changes, particularly like when who dies and who turns and whatnot. So that'll keep you on your toes if you care about that sort of thing. Let's see. What else? I don't remember it being like this in the movie, but they make them snake vampires, which I think is bullshit. As by far the worst thing. The hissing vampires are bad enough without little snake fangs. Oh my god, it's painful just to think back on. I think they removed that one aspect. I would have loved it. They also, like, we had this whole investigative thing in the movie where they're squishy, except for like right around their heart or something. I don't remember exactly for the movie. I need to rewatch that. And this one, they just seemed like normal people that were doing crazy vampire stuff, and the only one that had like magic powers, other than like healing, was the goddess lady, and then there was the main guy who was her primary servant or whatnot that had some residual powers from her. But it's really kind of interesting to see who makes it to the end and who is doing what there. But yeah, I totally recommend it. All right, so looking at the rest of this, I'm going to wait. I'm going to come back after we do some Hulu. Okay, what I was saying was weird about my 7 days ago is there are 2 episodes that switched at birth. I don't remember if like 2 of them came out once, or maybe I tried to watch one and realized I was rewatching an episode. But let's just see if this description spark anything. Severe storm warning forces the family hungry down. That's the one I probably rewatched. It was the one where Rio, whatever his name is there during the storm, and Regina, is it Regina? Yeah, Regina's business partner scares him off. And then Art Like Love's dedication. There's a really sweet episode about Bae getting released from community service, what she wants to do and everything, and the project that she's been put in charge of to do the benches. That was really heartwarming, and I want to see more of an angle show up from there. There's a lot of privilegedness in this thing, even with Regina. She's kind of been spoiled in, or grandfathered into being spoiled, and I want to see something a little bit more gritty in this world. I was hoping it would be when the kids go independent, and we're not really seeing it from Emmett so much. We're not really seeing it from Cale Clark's character Daphne, and Bae's out of the prison chain gang. So, moving on to the current episode, which I caught up on today. It looks like we might get a chance with her going to LA. We're definitely going to get some drama, if nothing else, and hopefully Bae. Hopefully they don't just spoil Bae from a distance. That's my hope. And then we can focus more on Daphne at college with Travis and Mary Beth. That was actually pissing me off because, like, she was just selling herself so short, like, in every way possible. I don't know how that relationship isn't working for her when her thought process is that it's not working for him. So she's going to give up before he has the chance to leave her. I don't get it. I don't get that at all. Enjoy who you're with if you've got the one, especially the one you want to be with. Didn't make any sense to me. Super frustrating. And then Travis just throwing away things left and right. And he doesn't even realize that the cheerleader likes him. It's like he's lost on every possible level. Oh man, it's just so funny. It's also horrible too at the same time. And then Daphne not getting into sorority, I was okay with, because Iris begging to get to a sorority was really like it blindsided me. I did not see that coming from that character. Yes, we saw preludes of her wanting to belong to things or to society, tribes, whatever, because she wanted to be with the deaf kids, but she doesn't really belong with the deaf kids, even though she knows how to sign pretty well. She doesn't really fit in with too many of the hearing kids because she's a nerd academic. She knows how to sign. So she's trying to find herself or find her place. And we've seen that journey from Daphne and Bay before. I'm hoping we don't have to revisit it too much again, because Daphne seems like a smart enough character to go, this is what I want to do. So much was already paid for it. Let me go become a doctor now. And I'm hoping Mingo doesn't fuck that up too much, because he's looking like a horrible piece of shit character. Oh, great. Maybe you want to lick butter off his abs. I don't know. But it's not what I want out of a character, and I don't want to see that with Daphne. There was a couple characters for her in the past where I was like, okay, I can see it. Especially Emmett. Emmett made a lot of sense. He's a better character being with Bay, and that is going to be a huge story arc that I can't wait for. We're going to spend a lot of time with Emmett in his movie, especially if he's making Bay and his love story into a thing. And I'm willing to bet, like, the little his Asian friend, his DP friend, is going to substitute for Bay at some point, and then Bay's gonna like walk in on him and be like, "Oh, how could you, Emmett? We need to talk." That's what I want to hear. I want to hear Vanessa Monero. I think that's her name. You're like, we need to talk, and then be that, and then fade out. I want to see that. Okay, so that's switched to birth. I jumped around a little bit there, but okay, so I saw commercials and advertisements for shows that I really don't need that much encouragement. I recognized Eliza Cuthbert, and I immediately was like, let me see what she's into now, because she was in a previous show that I can't remember, but she was fantastic. Like, I was so disappointed that I saw her. The first time I really saw her was in Girl Next Door. I feel like I missed out, honestly, and I'm happy to see her in a serial where I get to see her over and over again. So One Big Happy, she plays a lesbian. I think it's Ellen DeGeneres' show. She plays a lesbian with her guy best friend. They're living together, and then through artificial insemination, she's gonna have his baby. Well, it turns out like he's been a lonely fuck for a while, and so but right around the same time, especially because they don't think she's pregnant, he gives up and he's like, let me try to find love, and he just has this serendipitous moment with this really cute British lady who happens to like being nude. I didn't write that, but that's part of the juxtaposition, is someone who's so freely open, being married. Oh, I spoiled it. But being married to a guy whose roommate is a lesbian, where they really don't have any chemistry, the lesbian and the straight married girl, yeah. Because they could play with this a dozen different ways, and it doesn't look like they're going to play with most of those aspects, which is actually good. I think a lot of those are cheap. They're going to focus on the heavier ones, which is, we have this conflict, we have this problem, we have this now complicated life. How are we going to introduce each other? It's like this is Eliza, and this is her baby's daddy, and I'm his wife. Just to see what kind of shocks they can get out of people. So I'm super happy about being able to see that again. The one I have not got to see yet, because I don't think it's out, is Weird Loners. It's got Quinn from How I Met Your Mother. She was the stripper that Barney tried to marry. She is such a fantastic actor and really funny. I can't wait to see Weird Loners. All the adverts I've seen for that are pretty top notch. My particular favorite being the one where they're dubbing over the wedding. I'm sorry if you haven't seen it, but it's like they're just putting words in people's mouths, and it's hilarious. I really can't wait. Okay, the next is a show that I have a lot of problems with, but it's damn intriguing. Like, I don't like intelligent zombies. I think once you have intelligent zombies, you're dealing with something else. And if it's not magical, you've got like just a bucket full of plot holes, which is not as delicious as it sounds if you think of donut holes. But the whole premise is that this lady who never goes to parties goes to this party. Everyone's doing this drug, which apparently eventually zombifies you, or this one batch does. So she gets attacked by someone who's turned zombie. And so she wakes up in a body bag with a scratch, and apparently is now a zombie who is compelled to eat brains. She throws away like this life and a fiance this life as a doctor and a fiance to go work in the morgue where she can steal brains. And oddly enough, there is a mortician there who ends up suspecting something, finds out, and is totally okay with it. So basically, we've redone True Calling. I'm not complaining because I fucking loved True Calling. What a great murder mystery show. But we're replacing the rewind of the day with not clairvoyancy, empathetic memories. Yes. So she gains the memories of the people she eats the brains, which is not, I don't think that's really original either, because people have done the thing where like mediums touch stuff or whatever. So I find it really interesting, and I don't care because I have True Calling back, and then I'm just happy with that. We don't have Zach Galifianakis, who's, I actually really liked him in that role. Playing like a serious character, even as a goofy type of person, I really enjoy that Zach Galifianakis. But that's not this. The guy's good too. I just haven't got time to adjust to him. I barely got time to adjust the main character, who has all these weird behavioral patterns that you're supposed to pick up on. And hopefully, I'm hoping in episode 2 we drop a lot of that pretense and we just see her in action. Because now she is dedicated to crime fighting using her things, but it has to be someone she's eating the brains of. So we'll see how that goes. Listen, Joey, being there, doing what? The bet about technology. I'm not doing that. There's a very interesting concept that in this day and age that everyone puts away their phones, no texting. I think you should have been able to call. You should have been able to do text for work. There should have been some more affidavits put on there, but apparently nobody could do it. And I think Joe actually gave up because of work. But I think that's interesting. I think more people should try that. I'm not going to, unless I've got some people who are actively involved with me doing this. Got like a kitty cat showdown happening. Why are you all staring at? Stop it! You're freaking me out. Okay, we'll just have to see if they explode in a fury. Baby Daddy, I do not watch this show. Stop putting it in my friggin' watch list. At this point, I'm not watching that just based on spite. Flash, out of time. Oh, there's a horrible, horrible thing that happens here, and I can't give it away. I want to bad, but I can't give it away. I'm not, spoilers wouldn't even cover it. But they're investigating more into Star Labs, and there's the weather guy's brother. Like, they're really running out of ideas for this one. Comparable to Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But bloody hell, the weather guy's brother, who can do weather better than him. I don't know. It's really kind of messed up, and we came really close to a lot of trouble, which just kind of geared us up to the end of the show. But sadly, that same aspect took away the shock, or some of the shock of it. And I wonder if it would have been too big a shock if we hadn't had all that buildup. That is curious. Let's see. Supernatural. I remember this being a fun one. Cole shows up again. This was actually a fun one. They ran into another worm type thing. Maybe I'm spoiling it a little bit, but it becomes pretty apparent pretty quick that it's something that's an infection of some sort. But it turns out to be a worm, and unlike the worm that didn't like the electricity, they've got to find a new way to battle this one because apparently, like, it's a thirsty worm, which is actually an interesting concept. Like, to have people thirst so bad that they'll drink the blood of people for probably food reasons, but like just the worm draining the shit out of, or draining the fluids out of their body for itself, which is kind of weird because you think it'd be drawing in fluids and then expelling fluids. So I don't know what it's doing with it. I don't know. I'm not gonna go there. Arrow. Like, okay, the team drama and everything is still the team drama. Speedy's still not over Merlin. Merlin's not recovered yet. There's all this drama going on between Raz and his daughter, and bullshit with Oliver Queen. But Murmur is actually interesting. It's a villain that's got his mouth sewn shut. I'm hoping there's a really good reason for that, and that we're going to see that by the time that finishes, because I don't think they finished him off. I will admit that occasionally I get really bad about certain shows at certain points, and they do not catch my attention. The fact that I cannot remember is not a point in Arrow's favor. Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I was really excited about this. I'm like, we're going to see more supers. We're going to see more supers. They're going to team up. They're going to hunt down S.H.I.E.L.D. And they're not hunting down S.H.I.E.L.D. They're hunting down this one fucking team of S.H.I.E.L.D., which apparently is all that's left. An international peacekeeping outfit should not have been reduced down to this one squad. It's not even a platoon. And it should have been a special ops team, like with specific mission sets. But they made I actually like the actress who ended up doing it, and like I wouldn't have turned it down either. But they met a lady who had razor blades for nails. Like, it was just a normal hand with a razor blade shoved under the nails. And for some reason, they had to put special gloves on her and make her live isolated. You remove the razors, they're not actually part of her. Like, I can't imagine, like, you'd cut them and they grow back. It's very, very odd. But they met a strong man and a smart guy and her. And then a guy who can knock people out with his voice. And they decided that was enough to take on whoever they're trying to take on. I guess they're supposed to be the S.H.I.E.L.D. guys. But the same guy who grabbed Raina comes into play and really mucks things up for everyone. So we're definitely going to see more of a situation happening in that direction. I really need to get through this. How did Castle come out 5 days ago and I just watched one tonight? Okay, we are in a weird period where like some shows are delaying things for no reason. Some shows are releasing double episodes. Some shows are not releasing episodes. I don't get it. I don't understand what the deal is. But I'm looking forward to the shows that are releasing, and I don't think anything that I've really been talking about lately has cleanly wrapped up for a season finale. But Castle and Beckett hook up with this lady from Hong Kong. She's like the perfect agent or whatever, and it's like Beckett's like fangirling. And then it turns out, like, oh, she's not so perfect. She has all these personal problems. And Beckett feels okay about herself. And at some point in all this fucking bullshit, they end up catching a bad guy. Caught you up. I'm sorry, but that's really what it was. Christella, this is actually an interesting episode. It explored a lot of like intercultural stuff with political aspects, with the idea of bringing a white boy to a quinceañera. For people who don't understand that, it's just like, oh look, this Hispanic lady's here at this Hispanic event with a Caucasian person. It's a lot of weird colorist nonsense. But in this case, the assumption was that it was a good thing. Whereas I would think in a lot of cases, they would be like, why couldn't you find a Latino man? And like, I don't know. It's, why are you meowing and running away? Come here. So I don't know. It's one of those things. It's just interesting to see that the insight, and I've said before that I don't think the show was intended for me, and I think slowly it is being intended for me in some fashion. I think they're modifying things to keep everybody incorporated in Tux. I wanted to pet you, but you're being a dick. Last man standing. Mandy gets an internship, then she doesn't have the internship, and then she has it again. She doesn't have it because her and Kyle are in love, and she wants to find some other hot girl to have her babies in vitro and in vitro. Vitro? I don't know. But essentially, Mandy and Kyle agree that they're going to break up for New York. She's going to go there for the summer. Kyle's going to go back to school, and they're going to do their own things. And yay, that's really nice and sweet that we got there. It just took a long time to get to the reasonable conclusion. Grim, bad luck. All about running down and chasing down Vestin that are rabbit-like Vestin to cut off their foot because it's lucky when you're boinking your wife to get her pregnant. It's horrible, horrible thing. Reminded me of like Auschwitz type stuff because the Vestin pecking order is never established because there's so many different Vestin types and they all exist in Portland. They hardly ever travel anywhere to go meet these other Vestin types. It's ridiculous. There's this whole book, this whole trailer full of knowledge from all over the world, and it's all in Portland. It's the interesting bit is the apprehension and friction happening between Juliet and Nick. To be honest with you, I wanted to see him make out with Juliet in Hex and Beast form. I wanted to see it happen, just because like I wonder what that'd be like. Let me run my tongue over your teeth. Yeah. I'm losing it. So that was really interesting to see those story arcs. I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going on. The other thing that's super, super important is the captain and the blonde Hexen beast. I can't remember her name. Adeline. They're like she's starting to work with him to try to play both sides so she can go out on top. Because I think honestly, if someone gave her a baby, she would pull out of the race entirely. I don't think she really has a side. She only has her side. But now she's pregnant, supposedly. Spoilers with Nick's baby, which is a whole dramatic thing. Because I can't imagine her moving in there like trouble was, especially Nick having his 2 Hex and Beast girlfriends. Yeah, man. Glee released 2 episodes this week, or I missed one somehow. I think this was the most offensive I've ever seen this show be. Like the line was like, "Oh, you go to one of those singing black churches." I was just like, what? Why?" And then like, we downgraded all these characters. Like we watched the first season, we saw them as good characters, maybe not the most social, but they weren't weak. weren't presented weak. They weren't presented stupid. They weren't like they had ideas, they had plans, they had goals. And like the first time we spent like half the episode on Kurt, and he has none of that. He is literally like this weak little thing that is bullied and hides in the shadows. And I didn't understand. I was like, why? This is not the character that we know now. So they spent a whole episode ruining the show. Like I was just like, we're circling the drain. We're circling the drain if this is happening, because it's the opposite of what needs to happen. We need to be focusing on the future of the show and the future of what's going on. And sure enough, I think maybe this was like all the stuff they wanted to tell about the main cast characters, or the core cast, that they never got to, so they got a bonus episode or something. And then the next episode was all kind of what I was talking about. It's about the future. It's about spoilers, maybe. I don't know. Schuster becoming principal. Technically, he won't be able to be involved in the choir anymore, or Glee Club. But because the whole reason that he's being stepped up to principal is because McKinley's becoming like an art school, and there's this resurgence of the arts based on all the trouble that he went through, especially against Sue, to get the arts program stabilized. And so the superintendent or whatever is above principal said he put his neck on the line for it, and to help make it happen. So I think Schuster made 3 Glee Clubs. There was the New Directions, which I think, because we got this weird resurgence where like we went from having like 5 people, we had to put in the Warblers because their school had to burn down. I still don't understand that one. And then we added like 20 some other characters that we have no idea about yet. And then now we're splitting it up into like 3 different groups. And I can only hope that means that we're going to end up with 3 different shows after this season, all in the same universe. That would be wonderful. But I have a feeling that's not going to be what's going to happen. I would love to see the freshman show and to give Glee a proper resurgence into a new cast. The New Directions would be the current cast that we're seeing. And then I'm assuming the Warblers are going over to the... Oh, God, I don't know what he called them. William Shue got nostalgic for his old boy group when Trouble Tones, that's it. So he's researching that with an all-male Trouble Tones. So apparently I think that's going to be the Warblers. So we're going to have to see more next episode. I'm actually kind of excited about this because what Glee needs is a facelift, and it needs it hard. Oh, yeah, I forgot. It's not on here. Okay, real quick, the slap. I don't want to talk too much about this, but we've since I talked to Sid Cam last officially, we've gone through Connie and Aisha, and what we're getting out of these, if anything else, is all the dirty little secrets. So as the audience, we're getting all the pieces where none of the characters have all the pieces. But we have enough information at this point to make predictions. After the next episode, I'm going to get with Sidcam, make sure that we both watch the 8th episode, knowing that we're going to be talking about it. And I want to do it as soon as possible after that 8th episode. I really think that'll be the way to go, because episode 8 is probably going to be the trial if it's not the last 2 episodes. And I never pay attention when they're like, next time on the slap, whatever they do. I haven't paid attention. I do apologize. I didn't. Why these things on my? Okay, I'm sorry. I don't watch the Mindy Project. It's not because I don't think she's funny. I actually do think she's funny. I just haven't got time to go reset and go through like 4 seasons of the Mindy Project to catch up, so I know what the hell's going on. But when I do watch little bits and pieces, it is funny. I'm torn apart because I don't have the context for everything. Um, I watched all of season 1 of Undateable. I forgot about it. It's episode 2, season 1. Episode 2, season 2, episode 1 is on Hulu. You can catch up with that if you haven't. I really, really like this show. The guy, the not the main guy, but the guy who thinks he's the main guy, but he is actually kind of the main guy. It's a show. Danny was on Whitney, and I thought him and Whitney had really good chemistry together. And he's kind of playing the same character, except before he realized that not monotonous relationship, a monogamous relationship would be a good idea. So it's actually really interesting to see him do this. And it would be actually very interesting if Undateable eventually led into Whitney. But I think the character names were different, so I could be wrong. But Danny ends up rooming with Justin, who owns a bar, and they hang out at the bar. So it's surprisingly like Friends, but at a bar, which is actually a really funny joke that I don't know if they intended to make or not, because like Friends used, like in the story, they used to hang out at a bar. It got turned into a coffee shop, so they hung out there instead, and it kind of matched with the way they grew. So if they turn this bar into a coffee shop later on, I'm gonna wet myself laughing. But with How I Met Your Mother, it was always a bar, so I'm thinking we're probably gonna stay there, especially given that the Danny's sister, who is probably my favorite character, and I'm constantly enraged that she's not banging Justin, given how desperate she is for a boyfriend. Because she's not, like, she has some illusion that she's undateable as the rest of these guys. Who you have a fat guy who happens to be the black guy. He's actually a pretty smooth talker, though. So go Shelley, and he's probably one of my favorite characters. Probably down between him and Leslie. That'd be a fun couple too. But you got Bursky, who I'm actually kind of rooting for deep down, because he's the super offensive guy. He's not necessarily bad looking. He's kind of skinny and dorky, but he's not necessarily bad looking. He just has this not horrible personality, but he's this tendency to say the completely wrong thing. And he's made this like declaration of love to Leslie, and he's like, I'm not there yet, but I'll get there eventually for you. And I love that idea. And the whole thing is like they're trying to pull down women, not pull down women, like they're trying to pull down dates and find opportunities to make it into more. Because none, like, other than Bursky and Danny, none of them are like conquest. Justin's actually like really the sweet guy who wants a nice girlfriend, and despite not hooking up with Leslie but going home with her the first night, and then he gets he gets story-wise stuck into the relationship, where we would see him, because he's probably, as the bar owner, he's probably the most capable out of the people besides Danny, who's trying to teach these guys how to live. He's kind of like the Barney, but not really, because he's not as awesome. So it's Shelley, Bursky. Oh yeah, and I thought this was a really nice touch. An English gay guy, who they concentrate just as equally on getting him some tail, objectification, getting him some man love, as much as the rest of the guys. And the and the last episode, the season 2, episode 1, it's actually a really good way to start, because it kind of foreshadows what they're going to be playing with. Danny challenged Justin to have a one-night stand. Because he finally got out of the relationship I had previously mentioned. And so he goes for it. He lands the girl. I made her sound like a fish. I didn't mean that. He he gets the girl. It's just that's how it is. And they both kind of knew that it was a one night stand. God. And then he has this thing where he starts talking, and I cringe, and I'm just look down. I'm like, oh, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. So he ends up trying to turn into a relationship that he doesn't want, which is fucked up. At least they were both being honest, and they both knew it was a one night stand. Or if he told her like, hey, this was just some fun, like at least he's being honest. But they have a whole episode revolving around whether or not it's right or wrong to do the thing, and whether it's better to kill the relationship early and move on, or drag out and have this nice polite farce. And I have very much of the opinion like, nope, kill it early. If you don't feel it, you don't feel it. Let's get everybody on board with moving on. And so they actually had like a mock trial, which I thought was interesting, where they did rule that it is better to torpedo than it is to drag it out at all. All right, I got to get through these. Once Upon a Time, Poor Unfortunate Soul. We had a whole episode of Ursula's Past, and for some reason, no, I had honest. Okay, here's my issue. It's not so much blackwashing the characters at this point. It's the idea that like Poseidon has a Triton and he's a deity, and then King Triton obviously existed because Ariel exists. And so now we have like ginger mermaids and black mermaids. And all I can think of is that there's some racist war going on in the seas. But fortunately that can't possibly be the case, because Ariel does show up because this is an Ursula story. And actually a really key thing happens with Hook. Killian, that's his name. But she goes to Poseidon, and Poseidon's like, oh, hey, what up, mermaid? What you need? And then he enters the story at a certain point. It's actually an interesting and well-crafted story that I don't want to spoil. But we also learn a lot of interesting facts about who knows what about the author and the sorcerer. And we are very quickly going to end up with some answers. That's all I can say about that. Last Man on Earth, I fear that it has been canceled because they started double releasing episodes, and that's what Gallivant did when it got canceled. And I think A to Z ended up doing the same thing towards the very end. There was a whole episode where, look, I'm not saying that she's not attractive. I'm saying that she's presented as the goofy, hard to get along with, non-sexy character. So Carol, and Phil obviously doesn't want to mate with Carol. I'm trying to look at this as extraterrestrials observing humans. But it's just a fact of it. I'm not saying that he should or should not. But I'm not even saying he's opposed to it. But he wants to mate with Melissa because, at least as far as he's concerned, she's the superior mate. It's when their last two people on Earth, he agreed to the marriage kind of honestly as an extortion tactic because he was objectifying, like, getting laid. Because literally, if there are two people left on the planet, and it's like, if you want in here, you got to do this. Well, you're probably going to do this because eventually you're going to run out of other options. But now that he had options, which he wasn't present, which wouldn't be a story. It wouldn't be a written thing if they didn't have this. But like now that he's got options, he managed to piss them both off by trying to like get them to agree that it was okay for him to repopulate with Melissa as well. And of course, it was more than that for him. But like he had to do to be a snake or a skunk about it. He had to do a lot more, and it just bullshit. God, I'd probably be a horrible person to be the last man on earth with, but there's no freaking way I would have agreed to any type of marriage. I would have brought up the math of it all very early on, and we would have done whatever we wanted to do. I'm not saying I'm in a position or desirable attractiveness, scruffy, to do that, but yeah, whatever. It's just an interesting position because he actually held more power than he could see. Um, though the two of them ganging up on him definitely did. But he did the right thing. He tried to make amends. He tried to be honest. And it just a matter of time. And in the interest of a short episode, they had to wrap it up. But this really funny thing with the dunk tank to try to let them be dominant. But eventually, they agree because he's right. He actually does have sound logic. The faster way to repopulate with the most diversity of genes is to mate both, and then you can't mandate necessarily who the kids all have fucks with, but ideally Melissa's line and Carol's line would mate with each other, and then you could crossbreed from there. A certain level of inbreeding is actually good for the population, which is why you see like island populations flourish really well when they're isolated from like mainlands, and then you see people group to certain sizes and extents naturally. And if you look through history, you'll kind of notice like, well, these people were here and these people here, and then some people migrated from here to there, yeah, and then they built it about the same size, and then some people kind of went to the next place. We are viruses on this planet. But we enter episode some freaking fat dude. Now, obviously, this is written from Phil's perspective, because Todd's a really nice guy. I'm wondering if like he's going to turn out to be diabetic and die, and then we end up going back to the same threesome situation. But now Todd and Melissa really get along. We're in this interesting cascade of like love triangles because obviously Phil wants Melissa. It actually seems like Melissa may actually want Phil, but she gets along really well with Todd. Todd's a good guy. Like, I mean, I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve a little loving. I don't know why I'm suddenly so passionate about that. But Carol wants to maintain good friendship with Melissa. So she kind of wants Phil because that she's married to him, and it's important to her that the perception be that they have a happy marriage. Man, I don't know. We're gonna have to see. There's a lot of setup going on this week, and I don't want to eat at it too much. Back to Castle, and I've already talked about Switch to Birth, so this is the last one. This was a really interesting one. There's a lot of bait and switch with the murder suspects. It's like, oh, he did it because he was running from the scene as soon as the shots took off. No, well then he did it because he had disappeared and he was within acceptable time parameters to blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, no, you did it. You tried to kill yourself. And it's like, obviously that doesn't work. And it's like, well, who else had access to that? It must have been you. And it is really, by the time we got to the end of it, that was a little bit much, I'll be honest. I was not super happy about that. But still a good episode because it's Castle. I don't think there's been a bad episode. I'm really kind of waiting to see what the next big story arc is going to be, because right now we're doing little things as not fillers because they're still good murder mysteries, but we're not quite in the realm of the XXX killer, trying to find out like Beckett's mom's murder, the whole thing with will they won't they with Castle and Beckett. Like, they're in a happy stable relationship. Like, we're not really focusing on Castle's family. Ryan and Esposito seem to be all good. We're not really focusing on their families. I'm either waiting for the ball to drop or for the show to end, which would be very sad. But this season would actually be a really good time to do it. I think it would go out while it's on top. It's in a nice, peaceful dilemma. It takes the crowd out nicely. I think if they try to push it and write it out too long, it will fail, and the show will end on a bad note, which I don't want to see it do. Moving on to some movies and stuff that I've been watching. What I did really like, I really liked this. I can't believe I didn't go see this in theaters. And I even started out watching this like, oh, these fucking stupid dragons. Because I do not like the dragon designs. I do not like how variant they are. I'm like, this economy doesn't make any, or this ecosystem doesn't make any sense. I don't understand this. We get some answers that we didn't quite get before. And I'm not exactly sure why they did some of the things they did in the first movie. They're obviously adjusting off that in this, because this one is all about like they're all established dragon riders in God blast it, Bork or whatever the place is called. But they Bucket, I can't remember his name, ends up spreading out trying to make a map of all the surrounding areas. And apparently, like, some asshole's trying to capture all the dragons he can to make an army to conquer the rest of the world. Yeah, it's really, you got to do that, guy. But he's really good at it. So, because it turns out like people have certain affinity over dragons in general. And we find out there aren't exact rules for like dragon kings. Like in the first one, we had a king that told all the other ones what to do, and that's what it was. And the term that they use in this movie is alpha. I don't know what the other one would have been. He would have been a beta. Not that he's lower or subservient necessarily, but he's not, being that he's in control, but not an alpha. As the alphas presented in this movie are like ancient elder things that would have bossed the other one around. Shh. Almost done. Shh. Shh. Stupid orange cat. That would have bossed. So the alphas would have bossed the kings around, which is really interesting. We actually get a deal explanation. We get answers to a lot of questions that we had about their families and their histories in the first movie. So I really think this flushes it out very nicely. I don't know what's been happening in the animated series, but I'm super happy I finally got to see this. I don't know why it's missed my radar for so long. But How to Train Your Dragon 2, go watch it. It was well worth your time. Ventriloquism, like when I think of ventriloquism nowadays, I think of Jeff Dunham. JeffDunham.com. It's good. And then I think of the Kevin Spacey short, The Ventriloquist, which I still want to be an entire movie. It's that good. Because it's all got this guy's dissociative personality disorder, where he is trying to be a professional puppet or ventriloquist, and he sits on the street corner and he argues with the dummies like, we're not good enough to go to the corner yet. We have to stay over here where the smaller crowds are, the passerbys. And one day we'll be good enough. And the dummy's taunting him about asking out this girl, the coffee girl that he likes. And he's like arguing with the dummy at his apartment. And it's like this really dark, gritty personality discussion about himself with this dummy, and the point where like he thinks the dummy's alive, where he wakes up the next morning, or this one morning after he yells at the dummy, I wish you were dead, wish you weren't real, and it looks like the dummy ran away. So he actually goes out chasing after the dummy a little bit, and then he stops and he looks around at the world, and this is the ventriloquist, the short, mind you, and he realizes he's okay without the dummy, and he even talks to the pretty lady at the bus stop, whatever. He has to practice to get to the real girl, which will come up in a minute. So Dummy is an Adrian Brody movie where it's basically a longer version of this. It's a social outcast type character who actually quits his job in an office and he's already living at home, but he to pursue ventriloquism as a career. He gets a dummy, he gets a book, he starts teaching himself. and you see him get better and better throughout the movie, and you see him become stronger and stronger in personality throughout the movie, to where he doesn't need the dummy to talk properly to other people. Where at the beginning, where he can barely look people in the eye while he's talking to them, and he uses the dummy to displace his emotions and project through the dummy. Impressively met with Mila Jovovich as this punk rock best friend. I really thought they were going to end up together. Like, I'll spoil that right now. They do not. But that was like my thing. I was like, okay, so they're going to end up together, because it's going to be, they never realized that they were really the ones for each other. And no, that's not it at all. She pushes and drives him into becoming a better person, and maybe not in the best ways, but into increasing this relationship that buds practically out of nowhere with the career lady that's helping him after he registers for unemployment. And then she's got a complicated thing because she's a single mom, and he's complicated because he's 30-something living at home, and his best friend is a dummy. But I love the line from the little girl, if nothing else. It's like, he'd make a good brother, and she's like, the guy I'm dating? And she's like, no, the dummy. Which I thought was really funny. Especially since the dummy is kind of foul-mouthed too. Let's see. And I rewatched Lars and the Real Girl. This is a movie that I like to watch again from time to time, because it's really touching. Ryan Gosling does an amazing job with that character. The girl who plays the lead role, fantastic job as well. Really gets you sympathetic to Lars, just through how sweet she's acting. And who knows, she may be a bitch in life. I don't know why I said that, but in this movie, she acts just perfectly. It's a girl like I'd want to date. I think that's the idea, is that she's the every girl. She's the girl that everyone, the nice girl that everyone would want to be with, and not necessarily like the porn star model type, but a pretty lady that you could take home to mom. And then who knows what happens after the lights go out. Because she's really attractive. It really throws me for a loop when they put these very pretty ladies in roles where it's like, no, she's supposed to be the homely, unkempt girl. It's like, no, didn't work in She's All That. It's not going to work here. Okay, and then I watched a series of really fucking bad movies. Let me open these up just to make sure that I know what I'm talking about, because it took Robin Williams to save my day. Parallel. This wasn't bad. It felt cut off. I can watch Sliders again, because they go into this building that's designed to be a portal, a building that jumps from probable dimension to probable dimension. And there's this whole untold story with the Asian chick, or Pan-Asian, whatever she is. And I want that movie. I want that show. Give me that. Where do I throw money to make that happen? I want it so bad. It was actually well worth the watch. It's a little hokey at times. The premise could be a lot better. And the execution is a little shaky. At times, it's mostly because of the redneck world that they end up stuck in, that got bombed to shit. I think if we went like 10 or like 5 jumps in or something, it'd be a lot better. But it's got to be like Sliders, where it's like, oh, we're always going to a new world because we can never get home. You can't do like Steins Gate, where they find a dial and they figure out how to control the building and actually get home. That feels ridiculous. Beyond. Okay, do not watch this fucking movie. Do not watch this fucking movie. It looks like District 9, like when you're looking at it. But it's this nonsensical, weirdly cut together story about this guy and his girlfriend, and possibly getting shot. You don't fucking know. if you really want to challenge that description, read some of the horrible shit reviews that are all accurate about this movie, and then watch it, and then tell me I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Because horrible waste of time. You will not get that back. Hansel and Gretel. This had the potential to be really good, but the whole witches eating people thing was just so dumb. So dumb. I couldn't. For whatever reason, Hansel and Gretel split up. Hansel goes off hunting witches across the land, builds his skills up and whatnot, and finally makes it back home just in time after apparently they killed Lilith, and then he went adventuring. Lilith was, I don't know, the candy witch. I don't know. They leave that out, honestly. She was some witch that was part of Coven that was stationed in their town, and so they kill her, and Gretel took over the sweet shop. And brother hunts witches, and the sister becomes a witch and tries to get. And the coven that Lilith was part of tries to recruit her, and she goes rogue. And Hansel and her fight it out along with all the other witches. And I know what I said sounds kind of exciting. It's just as haphazard and shitty as I sounded when I said all that. No, just find a better movie to watch. It is interesting to a point, but it's not worth the hour and a half you put in to find it all out. Earth to Echo. This not premiered, but it was showing at VidCon last year when I was there. And I was almost upset that I didn't get to see it because it looked like it was going to be the next thing. It looked like it was going to be the new E.T. I heard that it was filmed as found footage, which I'm actually a big fan of. But whenever I think of it, I think of Cloverfield, which I know most people think Blair Witch. And you don't get that quality that you get in Cloverfield unless it's Chronicle. Fuck yeah, go watch Chronicle. I should watch that again. Earth to Echo was kind of dumb. Like it's a neat story. It's a neat premise. I like that he's techno-psycher. Yeah, let's go with that. But the fact that he needed to send the signal out at all to get there it was a real weird premise, plot holes. You can't communicate properly. Super awkward, so many ways. And honestly, I think it would have been better ending. Spoilers, if he had ruined the entire city. But I don't know. I just don't think it was there. It didn't have that extra oomph. Echo's not that adorable. Well, he's fairly adorable, but he's not adorable enough to rule over the entire movie and save it. And the movie that saved my day when I was watching shit that was just crappy, The Angriest Man in Brooklyn, good old Sir Robin Williams. I don't care if he was knighted or not. He's Sir Robin Williams to me. Peter Dinklage is in this. Mila Kunis. And Melissa Leo. I don't know who she is, I'll be honest. But she plays his wife. I was really impressed with Mila Kunis in this. I'm always impressed with her. I don't know why I think so little of her until she's on screen, especially after Black Swan. It's not just her making out with Natalie Portman. Fucking whole movie's fantastic. And watch it and learn why your children should not be ballerinas. But I got to say, I watched a movie where Mila Kunis was sopping wet with Robin Williams, and that made me laugh at least. But the movie's fairly funny. The whole premise is that she is a doctor having this fucking weird psychological break. She ends up covering for Robin Williams' doctor, and then tells him that he has 90 minutes to live based on the cooking time of a turkey on a cooking magazine in the office. So he has 90 minutes to try to turn his life around and get everything that he wants out of it. And he decides to focus on his family, who he's not really in the best of strengths with. So he has 90 minutes to try to do this. And they do a lot of shit in 90 minutes. It's almost like it's filmed real time. It's actually really crazy. And it's all based on the fact that he has an embolism that is about to pop. And it's like a miracle that he doesn't die in the spot the entire movie, which is really interesting. I'm going to group and summarize these last few movies because I got on a Saw kick. I started with Saw 1 because I was like, I need a good movie. Oh, look, Saw is on here now. Let's watch Saw. And so I started watching Saw, and I watched the first 4 because they're available on Netflix. And I was like, it's really good. I really like that 2 and 3 are actually happening around the same time. I don't care if that's a spoiler or not. It really shouldn't be. So it's really like 2A and 2B. And then 4 would be 3. Numbers. And I'm having trouble remembering what happened in which one. Like 4, I don't remember what happened at all. I know that had to have been the one after the 2 and 3. Yeah, the description says, spoilers, Jigsaw may be dead, autopsy on Earth's thing. So it's all about Hoffman and Crom. And then 5 is where Hoffman takes the reins again. And then the beginning of 6 is where I fell asleep, finally. Because I'm insomniatic at points, and I just I can't handle sleeping. It's a terrible thing. Closing your eyes and actually falling asleep. It's horrible. I can't do it. But I'm going to finish that up for sure because I fucking love those movies. And I was asked why I like those movies, and I think the biggest thing is because for the longest time I had to note Event Horizon as this. It's one of the first movies that not first, but it was released in a time in an era when people didn't make movies that didn't have happy endings. The villains can actually win in these. Doesn't mean that the protagonists don't survive, but the villains are the protagonists in this movie or in this series of movies. And the cops are the antagonists trying to stop all that from happening, but you're still kind of rooting for the antagonists. But it's the protagonists that drive the story, so it's the villains that drive the story in this. Thus, at the end, it's kind of how they come out on top, maybe apart from the final chapter, which I'll have to get to and report back next week, because it is late and I gotta go. I got to go. Ba 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 ba.